You're lying in bed at midnight and you hear it. A scratch behind the wall, a tiny scurry above the ceiling, and you already know what's coming. The droppings in the pantry, the chewed box in the cupboard, the smell you can't explain to guests. Here's the part that'll surprise you. The actual fix for most of this costs about $3, takes one afternoon. And it's not a trap, not poison, not one of those ultrasonic plug-ins that do basically nothing. It's a small roll of copper mesh sitting quietly in the plumbing aisle of almost any hardware store, and most homeowners walk right past it their entire lives. Let's talk about why the usual approach fails. Most people go straight for snap traps or bait stations. You catch 2 or 3 mice, feel like you've won, and then a month later, you're back where you started. That's because traps deal with mice that are already inside. They do nothing about the gap in your foundation the next mouse is going to use tomorrow night. Spray foam is the other classic mistake. It looks solid, it expands, it seals the hole visually, and then a mouse chews straight through it in a single night. Because to a mouse's teeth, foam has almost no resistance at all. People spend years cycling through traps, poison, and foam. Spending real money, the problem just resets every few weeks. Here's the shift almost nobody talks about. The real fight isn't inside your house, it's at the foundation. A mouse can squeeze through a gap about a 1/4 inch wide, roughly the width of a pencil. And that's not a guess, it's the standard threshold used by university pest management extension programs when they train people on rodent proofing. Every house has more of these gaps than you'd expect. Around pipes, gas lines, dryer vents, AC lines, the spot where siding meets the foundation. Once you start hunting for them with a flashlight, you realize that your house isn't one solid wall. It's Swiss cheese with a roof. So why copper specifically? This isn't folklore. It's basic material science that's been used in construction and agriculture for a very long time. Steel wool is the classic DIY answer people reach for, and it does work for a little while, but steel rusts. In a damp foundation, near sill plates and humid basements, steel wool breaks down within a couple of years, and once it rusts and crumbles, the gap opens right back up. Copper doesn't rust the same way. It forms a thin, stable oxide layer instead of corroding away, and it holds its shape and rigidity far longer in damp conditions. On top of that, copper's knitted strands are springy rather than rigid, so a mouse's teeth can't get real purchase on it the way they can on wood or drywall. It's not magic. It's just a material mice can't effectively gnaw and moisture can't destroy. Now here's the industry reality, and I'll keep this the honest version instead of the dramatic one. Exclusion work like this doesn't pay well for a pest control company compared to a recurring quarterly treatment contract. That's not a conspiracy, it's just how service businesses are structured. A permanent one-afternoon fix isn't a great business model, so naturally, it doesn't get marketed the way subscription treatments do. Copper mesh itself isn't secret. You can buy the exact same material pest supply companies use, just without the fancy packaging and inflated price tag, for a fraction of the cost in a plain hardware store roll. Pest professionals themselves actually recommend exclusion work like this. It's a real documented method used in integrated pest management, not some fringe trick. Where the marketing gets misleading is when people are sold ongoing chemical treatments as the only real solution, when sealing the entry points is usually the higher leverage move. Here's how you actually do it. Take a Saturday morning, grab a flashlight, a screwdriver, a roll of knitted copper mesh, look for copper wool or copper mesh, not woven sheet, a tube of 100% silicone caulk, and a pair of gloves so the copper doesn't nick your hands. Walk the entire outside perimeter of your house slowly and get low. Many entry gaps are near ground level, not eye level. Check every spot where something passes through the wall. The dryer vent, the gas line, the outdoor faucet, AC lines, electrical conduit, the corners where foundation meets framing, garage door corners. Dryer vents deserve extra attention. Mice are drawn to the warm air leaking out, and it's often the very first way one finds its way in. For every gap wider than a pencil, tear off a piece of copper mesh, wad it tightly, and pack it firmly into the hole with a screwdriver. Push it well back, not just plugging the surface. Then run a smooth bead of silicone over the top to lock it in place and weatherproof it. If your house has a basement, don't stop outside. Go down and check the rim joist, the wooden band where the floor framing sits on the foundation. It's one of the most overlooked entry paths, because a mouse that gets in low can travel the entire height of a house through that gap without ever crossing an outside wall again. Seal it the same way, from the inside. If mice are already living inside when you do this, sealing alone can trap them in rather than push them out. So pair it with encouraging them toward an exit first, clearing food sources, using a mild deterrent like peppermint oil near known runways before you seal the very last gap. A few honest limitations, because I'm not going to oversell this. This method works best on gaps and cracks. It's not a fix for a wide open foundation crack, a missing vent cover, or an ongoing infestation coming from a neighboring structure you don't control. If you've got an active food source you haven't dealt with, open pet food, birdseed in the garage, mice will keep pushing at every gap regardless. And if you're dealing with a heavy, established infestation, especially with young children or anyone immunocompromised in the house, it's genuinely reasonable to call a professional for the initial cleanup, even if you handle exclusion yourself afterward. This isn't about never getting help. It's about not paying for a recurring contract to solve a problem a few dollars of copper in one afternoon can usually handle. Mouse droppings and urine really can carry salmonella and other pathogens, and that's not exaggeration. It's documented by public health agencies, so getting them out and keeping them out matters for more than just peace of mind. At the end of the day, this isn't about some secret the world hid from you. It's about a boring, unglamorous fix that just doesn't get marketed because there's no recurring revenue in it. Once you understand that a house is really just a system of small gaps waiting to be found, you stop treating mice as bad luck and start treating them as a maintenance problem. One you can actually solve yourself for the price of a coffee in one quiet Saturday afternoon. That's it for this one, from Hidden Fix Lab. If it's useful, you know what to do with it.